Il riot encore lorsque il pensait avoir gagné. Il ignorate chuen moins d'une tout si tu il avate construit commensurate à s'effondrer. Le Grand Palais Hotel de Manhattan brillait sous les lustres de cristal. Bain d'une lumière dorée que donnait à chaque verre de champagne l'air d'un bijou. Les voix bases de financiers, de avocats et de dirigeants malaiant au son discret d'un quatuor accordis. C'était la soirée privée la plus convoitée de la saison. Cello un accord d'un milliard de dollars devait être signé avant minuit. Damien Cross adorait ce genre de soirée. À 46 ans, milliardaire autodidacte, propriétaire du groupe Cross Dynamics, Illinois avance dans la salle comme un homme certain que le monde existait pour applaudir son passage. Son smoking sur mesure tombait parfaitement. Essaye Montervalet plus chuan maison moyenne. Et son sourire avait cette assurance dangereuse de hommes que en intendant jamais non. Les invites se tournant vers lui avant même chuael n'y parle. Certains l'admirant. Daughters le craignant. Damien préférait les deux. Ce soir la portant, son regard fut attire non par un célébrate ni par un investisseur, mais par un femme que personne n'y semblait remarquer. LSE tenait près d'une table latérale, un simple robe noire, sans bijoux voyants, les cheveux attachés avec sobriété. Elle n'essayait pas d'impressionner que s'y soit. Elle observait simplement la salle avec un calme presque étrange. Son nom était Natalie Brooks. Et dans un piece rempli de gens que parlaient trop fort. Son silence paraissait plus solide que leurs discours. Damien la détailla un seconde. Pousse ricana. Dans son univers, les apparences étaient un langage. Et silence ce langage, cette femme innovate reign à faire ici. Il prit un coupe de champagne au passage, se dirigia vers un cercle d'investisseurs que attendaient ses anecdotes comme d'autres attendant un spectacle. Regardez ca. Murmura-t-il assez fort pour être entendu. Chaque année, Illinois y toujours quelqu'un que entre dans la mauvaise salle. Quelques rires nerveux suivrant. Natalie n'y leva même pas les yeux. Elle ajusta simplement la serviette posée près d'une assiette. Comme si le commentaire concernait quelqu'un d'autre. Su detachement irrita Damien plus chuan réponse. Il était habitué aux excuses. Aux sourires forces. Aux gens que se justifiant. L'indifference lui semblait presque insolente. Il s'approcha davantage. Vous cherchez le service traiteur, madame? Demanda-t-il avec une politesse tranchante. Quelques têtes se tournèrent. Le quatuor continua de jouer, mais plusieurs conversations relentrant. Natalie releva enfin le regard. Ses restaurant parfaitement stables. Non, Monsieur Cross, je suis exactement là où je dois être. Sa voix était douce, posée, sans agressivité. Damien haussa un sourcil. Elle connaissait son nom. Cela l'amusa. Vraiment? Alors vous êtes plus confiant que vous en avez. Elle se pencha légèrement vers ses invites. C'est fascinant. Certains pensent qu'une robe simple suffit pour entrer dans les grandes affaires. Cette fois, quelques rires plus francs éclateront. Une femme détourna les yeux, mal à l'aise. Un jeune analyste baissa son verre. La salle sentait déjà ce moment glisser vers quelque chose d'inconfortable. Natalie resta immobile. Elle prit un gorgée d'eau. Aucun tremblement dans la main. Aucun mot inutile. Damien sentit nader ce besoin infantin de pousser plus loin. Il attrapa une petite assiette de dégustation, au reposit une portion de risotto crémeux aux truffes. Faites attention, lança-t-il avec un sourire large. Ces événements peuvent être sollicitants pour les amateurs. Il fit semblant de se retourner, heurta volontairement le bord de la table. Et le contenu de l'assiette glissa sur la robe noire de Natalie. Un souffle traversa la salle. Pousse Damien éclata de rire. Fort, théâtral, satisfait. Quelques-uns rirent avec lui. Surtout ce que revient besoin de rester dans son camp. Daughters figurant leur expression. Le quatuor s'irrita en mesure trop tôt. Natalie regarda la tache crème sur son tissu. Pousse elle prit une serviette blanche. Essuya comment se manche et leva les yeux vers Damien. Pas de choléra. Pas de honte. Solment untranquillite que fit vacillaire son, sourire unfraction de seconde. C'est termin? Demandait-il simplement. Damien ouvrit les mains comme un homme innocent. Un accident. Cela arrive. Mais déjà, quelque chose changeait dans la pièce. Les conversations étaient Tuesday. Les verres restaient suspendus à mi-hauteur. Même les serveurs semblaient attendre. Au fond de la salle, les doubles portes s'ouvrirent et l'animateur officiel de la soirée entre d'un pas rapide. Un dossier à la main, le visage tendu. Il se dirigia vers la scène. Demanda le silence et prit le micro. Mesdames et messieurs, merci de votre attention immédiate. La personne que détient la décision finale concernant l'accord d'un milliard de dollars vient d'arriver. Damien redressa la tête avec satisfaction. Persuade Chuael allait être célèbre. L'animateur consulta sa feuille. Inspira, poussant d'une voix claire. Voulez accueillir la précédente directrice générale de Northbridge Capital, Madame Natalie Brooks. Le silence que suivit fut si complet qu'on intended un glaçon se fisher dans, un vers quelque part près du bar. Damien n'y bougeait plus. Natalie posa la serviette tachée sur la table. Lissa comment sa robe. Pousse commença à marcher vers la scène pendant que tout la salle comprenait enfin que venait réellement d'entrer. Natalie Brooks crossed the marble floor with measured steps, and every sound in the ballroom seemed to disappear around her. The stain on her dress was still visible, but somehow it no longer looked like humiliation. It looked like evidence. Damien Cross remained frozen near the table, one hand still holding his champagne glass, the confident grin now hanging awkwardly on a face that had forgotten how to move. The host stepped aside at once. Natalie took the stage, adjusted the microphone slightly, and looked across the sea of executives, bankers, and reporters who had spent the last 10 minutes underestimating the wrong person. "Good evening," she said calmly. "I apologize for the delay. I was handling an unexpected demonstration of character." A few nervous laughs surfaced, then died quickly. She opened the folder placed beside the podium. Northbridge Capital has spent 8 months reviewing strategic partnerships for our $1 billion expansion fund. We examined numbers, forecasts, market position, and leadership culture. Her eyes lifted and settled directly on Damien. Tonight, leadership culture made itself very clear. The room went silent again. Damien forced a smile and began walking toward the stage. "Natalie, I think there has been a misunderstanding," he said, voice thinner than before. "That little accident was nothing more than a joke." Natalie nodded once. "Yes, many harmful things are introduced as jokes." Several guests lowered their eyes. A woman from a private equity firm slowly set down her glass. Natalie continued, "Mr. Cross, your company impressed our analysts. Your margins were strong. Your growth story was polished. But investment is trust. And trust begins with how people behave when they think no one important is watching." Damien stopped 3 feet from the stairs. "Please, let us speak privately." "No," Natalie replied, still composed. "You were comfortable making this public. We will keep it public." A ripple moved through the crowd like wind through leaves. Phones were now discreetly raised. Cameras from business media crews angled forward. Natalie signed a single page with a silver pen. Effective immediately, Northbridge Capital is withdrawing from all negotiations with Cross Dynamics. The host inhaled sharply. Someone near the back whispered, "That is the whole deal." Damien climbed one step toward the stage, then another, forcing confidence he no longer possessed. "You are making an emotional decision." Natalie closed the folder. "Actually, I am making a disciplined one." She handed the signed document to legal counsel waiting nearby. "Our board prefers partners who do not confuse wealth with worth." Damien's jaw tightened. The investors who had laughed with him minutes earlier were now stepping subtly away, creating a circle of space around a man who suddenly seemed alone. One board member from his company checked his phone and turned pale. Another began typing furiously. Markets moved quickly when confidence cracked. Natalie stepped away from the microphone. "Tonight was supposed to celebrate a future alliance," she said. Instead, it revealed a future liability. Then she descended the stage. Her heels clicked softly against the marble as she walked past Damien without pausing. He turned toward her, searching for words, but none arrived in time. Behind him, whispers grew louder, reporters moved closer, and screens across the ballroom began flashing headlines before midnight had even struck. The ballroom did not recover after Natalie Brooks walked away. Fractured. Conversations split into whispers, alliances shifted in real time, and the polished confidence that had filled the room only minutes earlier now felt thin and expensive. Damien Cross stood near the stage stairs, still staring at the doorway through which Natalie had exited, as if disbelief alone could reverse what had happened. His chief financial officer rushed toward him, tablet in hand, face drained of color. "We have a problem," she said quietly. Northbridge was the anchor investor. If they pull out publicly, the secondary lenders may pause too. Damien straightened his jacket and forced a laugh that convinced no one. "Then we replace them." She did not move. "By morning, maybe. Tonight. Everyone in this room knows why they left." Across the ballroom, two venture partners who had spent months pursuing Damien suddenly turned their backs and began speaking with competitors. A senator's fundraiser chair slipped out a side door without saying goodbye. Even the string quartet had stopped playing, uncertain whether elegance still belonged in the room. Damien spotted a reporter approaching with a microphone. "Mr. Cross, did you lose the deal because of your treatment of Ms. Brooks?" He ignored the question and walked faster. "Mr. Cross, is Cross Dynamics facing a liquidity issue now?" Another camera light clicked on. He pushed through the crowd with a smile that looked more painful each second. Near the bar, the same investors who had laughed earlier now pretended not to know him. One man checked his watch and muttered, "I have an early flight." Another suddenly became fascinated by the dessert table. Wealth often speaks loudly during success and quietly during fallout. In a private corridor outside the ballroom, Damien finally caught up to Natalie. She was speaking calmly with her legal counsel while an assistant arranged a car downstairs. "Natalie," he said, breath controlled but urgent. "Name your terms." She turned slowly. There was no anger in her face, which unsettled him more than fury would have. "My terms were simple from the beginning," she replied. "Respect people." "Come on," Damien said, lowering his voice. "You made your point. Let us be practical." Natalie glanced at the stain still faintly visible on her dress. Practical would have been treating a stranger with basic dignity before learning whether she could help you. He stepped closer, careful now, polished now, transformed by necessity. "I can apologize publicly. That would help your image," she said. "It would not repair your character." The hallway went still. Even her counsel stopped writing for a moment. Damien's tone hardened slightly. "You are risking a lot over one moment." Natalie gave the smallest smile. "No, Mr. Cross. You risked a lot over one moment." Her elevator arrived with a soft chime. She entered, then looked back once. People reveal themselves fastest when they believe there will be no consequences. The doors closed. Damien remained alone in the corridor, reflected in mirrored walls from every angle. Downstairs, news alerts were already spreading across phones nationwide. Cross Dynamics shares were down 7% in after-hours trading, and the market had not even opened yet. By 6:30 the next morning, Manhattan was already discussing Damien Cross over coffee. Financial networks replayed the ballroom footage on loop. Though no camera had captured the exact moment the plate tipped, they had plenty of what came after. Natalie Brooks on stage, calm and precise, withdrawing $1 billion with a single sentence while Damien stood speechless beneath crystal lights. Headlines were ruthless. Confidence crisis at Cross Dynamics. $1 billion deal collapses after public incident. Leadership questions surround Damien Cross. Markets opened and answered faster than commentators could. Cross Dynamics dropped another 11% in the first 20 minutes of trading. Analysts who once praised Damien's instincts now questioned his judgment. Investors did not fear spilled food. They feared poor impulse control. Inside Cross Dynamics headquarters, The mood had changed from prestige to panic. Phones rang unanswered. Assistants moved quickly with lowered eyes. Conference room doors closed harder than usual. Damien entered the executive boardroom expecting loyalty and found distance instead. 12 people sat around a polished walnut table. No one smiled. His chairman, Leonard Hale, folded his hands. "Sit down, Damien." It was the first time in 10 years he had not been greeted with enthusiasm. Damien remained standing. "We are stabilizing the narrative. Give it 48 hours. Leonard slid a tablet across the table. 3 lenders have paused negotiations. 2 board members are requesting emergency governance review. And our institutional holders want to know whether this is who leads the company. Damien glanced at the screen and pushed it back. "This is overblown media theater." "No," said the general counsel quietly. "This is reputational risk with measurable cost." The room fell silent. Damien looked around for allies and found people studying notes they were not reading. The same executives who once laughed at his sharp humor now avoided eye contact. Success had many witnesses. Trouble had auditors. "What do you want from me?" Damien asked. Leonard answered without emotion. "We want Natalie Brooks to reconsider." Damien almost laughed. "You think she will return after last night?" Leonard's gaze sharpened. "I think she might return if approached correctly. And I think you are going to ask." Across town, Natalie sat in a bright corner office overlooking the Hudson River. The stained dress from last night had already been sent away, but the lesson remained exactly where it belonged. Her chief operating officer placed morning reports on the desk. "Cross Dynamics is requesting a meeting. Urgent." Natalie continued reviewing another acquisition file. "Of course they are. Should I decline?" Natalie paused. Outside the glass wall, ferries moved slowly across silver water. "No," she said at last. "Schedule 15 minutes at noon." The officer blinked. "Only 15? Natalie gave a small smile. People who waste dignity usually value time only after they lose money. At 11:58, Damien Cross entered Northbridge Capital's lobby without cameras, without entourage, and without the certainty he used to wear like a tailored coat. Reception asked him to wait. He did, for 9 full minutes. Employees passed by politely, some recognizing him, none impressed. At noon and 7 minutes, the elevator opened. Natalie stepped out carrying a folder and a coffee. "Mr. Cross," she said evenly. "I hope the wait was not uncomfortable." He stood immediately. "Natalie, I came to make this right." She glanced toward the seating area. "Interesting. Last night you preferred standing room." Then she motioned toward a conference room where consequences were about to become more expensive. Natalie Brooks entered the conference room first and took the seat nearest the window, where winter sunlight stretched across the polished table like a clean dividing line. Damien Cross followed more carefully than he had ever entered any room in his life. There was no audience now, no champagne, no laughter to hide behind. Only silence, a legal pad, and the woman he had dismissed less than 24 hours earlier. Natalie placed her coffee beside a folder and glanced at the clock. "You requested 15 minutes. You now have 14. Damien sat down slowly. "I came to apologize." "That is a beginning," she said. "Not a solution." He nodded, trying to recover the composed charm that had once opened every door. "What happened last night was unacceptable. I misread the moment. I misjudged you." Natalie folded her hands. "No, you judged me exactly as you intended. You simply misjudged the consequences." The room went still. Damien looked toward the skyline, then back at her. "My board is demanding I repair this relationship." "Your board is demanding you repair your valuation," Natalie replied. "Those are not the same thing." He exhaled slowly. "Tell me what it takes." Natalie opened the folder and slid one page across the table. "This is not a reinstatement of the original deal. That opportunity ended in the ballroom." Damien looked down. The document was shorter than expected, but every line felt expensive. Mandatory executive conduct oversight. Independent ethics review. removal of discretionary bonus protections, a public leadership accountability statement, funding commitments to workforce training and hospitality scholarships. He frowned. This reads like punishment. No, Natalie said calmly. It reads like standards. He leaned back. You are asking me to surrender authority. I am asking you to earn it. Damien's jaw tightened. For years, he had negotiated from height, from leverage, from certainty. Now each sentence seemed to lower the floor beneath him. And if I refuse? Natalie lifted her coffee. Then we conclude this meeting 3 minutes early, and I continue conversations with your competitors. His eyes narrowed. You were already speaking with competitors? Successful people prepare options before they need them. That landed harder than any raised voice could have. Damien looked again at the paper. Through the glass wall, Northbridge employees moved with calm purpose. No one rushed. No one tried to impress anyone. The building itself seemed built on discipline rather than ego. Why give me any path at all? He asked quietly. Natalie considered him for a moment. Because companies employ thousands of people who did not spill food, laugh at strangers, or mistake status for character. They should not pay for one man's arrogance. For the first time since entering, Damien had no reply ready. He signed the first page, then paused before the second. This statement, he said, reading aloud softly. Leadership begins with respect shown when no advantage is expected. He looked up. You wrote this. Natalie nodded once. Experience wrote it. I only typed it. He signed the second page, then the third. His signature, once a symbol of power, now sounded like surrender across paper. Natalie collected the documents and stood. You have 12 hours to release the public statement. If you delay, the agreement is void. Damien rose as well. And the investment? Natalie walked toward the door. Conditional, limited, earned in stages. She opened it, then turned back. That is how trust works too. Damien remained, alone in the room for several seconds after she left, staring at the chair where she had sat. He had entered hoping to save a deal. He walked out understanding he had nearly lost something far larger. The illusion that money could replace respect. By 4 o'clock that afternoon, every major business outlet had the statement. It appeared first as a breaking alert, then as a headline, then as a lesson repeated across every screen in Manhattan. Cross Dynamics announces governance reforms following public incident. Damien Cross accepts accountability, commits to new leadership standards. The language was polished, but everyone knew where it came from. Investors did not applaud morality often, but they respected stability. Shares that had fallen sharply in the morning began to recover by the closing bell. Not fully. Trust, like markets, moved in stages. Inside Cross Dynamics headquarters, employees gathered quietly around monitors in break rooms and hallways. Some had worked there for years under Damien's demanding style. Others were newer, still learning that success could be loud while wisdom was usually quiet. When the internal memo arrived confirming executive oversight and workplace conduct reforms, the reactions were cautious but real. A senior accountant whispered, "Maybe now people can disagree without fear." A receptionist simply smiled and returned to work. Change rarely entered through grand speeches. More often, it arrived through policy. Damien sat alone in his corner office high above the city. Jacket removed, tie loosened, the signed agreement resting on his desk like a mirror he did not ask for. He reread Natalie's line again. Leadership begins with respect shown when no advantage is expected. He had spent years believing leadership meant winning rooms, controlling narratives, making others adapt. Yet one calm woman in a stained dress had exposed how fragile that version truly was. His assistant knocked softly. "Your 6 o'clock is here." Damien frowned. "I canceled everything." "Not this one," she said. "Ms. Brooks requested 10 minutes. He stood immediately. Natalie entered carrying no folder this time, only a slim notebook. She looked exactly the same as before. Composed, unhurried, impossible to impress. Damien gestured toward a chair. "Thank you for coming. I am not here for courtesy, she said, sitting down. I am here for verification. She opened the notebook. How many frontline employees work events for your company each year? Damien blinked. Approximately 800 across divisions. How many receive leadership training pathways? He hesitated. Very few. Natalie wrote something down. That changes now. Part of our phased investment includes scholarships, promotion tracks, and management mentoring for staff who are usually ignored. Damien stared at her. You are using this deal to rebuild my company. No, she said evenly. I am using this deal to reveal whether your company can be rebuilt. The room fell silent. Outside the glass windows, the skyline glowed amber with late sunlight. For once, Damien did not rush to speak. Why does that matter to you so much? He asked quietly. Natalie closed the notebook. Because years ago, someone dismissed my mother when she worked banquet service at a hotel. They never knew she was paying for my business degree one double shift at a time. Damien lowered his eyes. I did not know. Exactly, Natalie replied. You never know who people are, what they carry, or what they are building. She stood and moved toward the door. The first phase funds tomorrow at 9 o'clock if your statement remains live and reforms begin on schedule. Damien nodded once. They will. Natalie paused before leaving. Good. Then let yesterday become expensive only once. After she left, Damien walked to the window and looked down at the streets far below. For the first time in years, he was not thinking about how high he had climbed. He was thinking about how low arrogance could make a man fall. The next morning, at exactly 9 o'clock, the first phase of Northbridge capital funding cleared. Newsrooms reported it within minutes. Commentators called it a remarkable recovery. Analysts called it strategic discipline. But inside Cross Dynamics, people felt something more unusual than either of those words. They felt possibility. The lobby that once moved with tension now carried a quieter energy. Managers greeted employees by name. Department heads who had rarely left executive floors were suddenly visiting workspaces, asking questions they should have asked years earlier. Some believed it was temporary theater. Others noticed something different. Policies had changed overnight, but behavior was beginning to change with them. Damien Cross walked through headquarters without an entourage for the first time anyone could remember. He stopped at reception and thanked the morning staff for handling media calls. The receptionist nearly looked behind her to see who he was speaking to. On the 23rd floor, he entered a training room where 30 event coordinators, assistants, and junior staff sat for the launch of the new leadership pathway program required under the agreement. He had planned to make a brief appearance and leave. Instead, he remained standing near the back, listening as the facilitator described promotion tracks, tuition support, and mentorship access. A young operations assistant raised her hand. Will senior executives actually mentor us? Or is this just for the press? The room grew still. Damien answered before the facilitator could. They will. Starting with me. Several heads turned. No one applauded. Real trust does not clap on command. It watches first. Later that afternoon, Natalie Brooks arrived unannounced. She wore a navy coat, carried a tablet, and moved through the building with the same calm that made hurried people feel loud. Damien met her in the lobby. You could have called, he said. Then I would have seen the prepared version, she replied. She walked past him toward the training rooms. Employees straightened, whispering softly. Some recognized her from the footage that had already become corporate legend. Natalie spent an hour touring departments, asking practical questions no celebrity investor ever asked. How long did approvals take? Were weekend shifts voluntary? Did reception staff receive advancement reviews? Did catering vendors get paid on time? Every answer went into her notes. In the cafeteria, she stopped beside a dishwasher station and thanked the attendant for keeping the facility spotless. The man stared in surprise, then smiled slowly after she walked away. Damien noticed everything. You inspect details most executives ignore, he said as they entered a conference room. Natalie placed her tablet on the table. Details are where culture hides. She reviewed metrics, timelines, staffing commitments, and training enrollment numbers. Then she looked up. Progress is real. But your board still treats reform as damage control. Damien did not deny it. Some of them think this passes once the headlines fade. Natalie closed the tablet. Then they still misunderstand the cost of arrogance. At that exact moment, Damien's chief counsel rushed in, face pale. We have an issue. He handed over a document. One of Cross Dynamics' oldest institutional investors was threatening to exit unless Damien stepped down as chief executive within 72 hours. The room went silent. Damien read the letter twice. Years of power had taught him how to win deals, not how to survive accountability. He set the paper down carefully. If I resign now, the company destabilizes. Natalie studied him without sympathy and without cruelty. If you stay unchanged, it collapses slower. He looked at her, understanding the real test had only just begun. Outside the glass wall, employees moved through hallways unaware that by the end of the week, the man who once believed he owned every room might be asked to surrender the largest title of his life. The letter remained on the conference table like a verdict no one wanted to read aloud. Damien Cross stood at the window with both hands in his pockets, staring over Manhattan as if height could still offer answers. Behind him, Natalie Brooks reviewed the investor demands in silence. Resign within 72 hours or face full divestment. Public support for interim leadership. Immediate governance transition. The language was polite, expensive, and final. Damien turned slowly. They are using this moment to remove me. Natalie did not look up. No. They are using this moment to measure whether you can remove the version of you that created it. The room went quiet. His chief counsel shifted uneasily near the door. For years, Damien had answered pressure with aggression, doubt with volume, criticism with leverage. None of those currencies were trading well anymore. If I step aside, he said, people will call it defeat. Natalie closed the folder. If you cling to the chair while the building shakes, they will call it selfishness. He almost smiled at the precision of it. Almost. By noon, an emergency board meeting was scheduled on the top floor. Directors arrived with guarded faces and carefully neutral voices. Reporters waited outside the tower. Employees watched internal message boards refresh every 30 seconds. The company that once moved at Damien's command now moved according to uncertainty. Leonard Hale, the chairman, opened the session. We have two options. Force a transition under pressure, or accept one with dignity. Every eye shifted to Damien. He remained seated, expression unreadable. A month earlier, he would have challenged anyone in the room. A week earlier, he would have called this betrayal. But humiliation had a strange way of clearing noise. Before we vote, Leonard continued, Mr. Cross may speak. Damien rose slowly. The room expected combat, excuses, perhaps a final display of ego. Instead, he placed both hands on the table and spoke plainly. I built this company with discipline, instinct, and ambition. I also built parts of its culture with arrogance. Several directors looked up sharply. He continued, I believed results could excuse behavior. They cannot. I believed fear was efficiency. It is not. I believed respect followed success automatically. It does not. The room was silent enough to hear pens stop moving. Effective immediately, he said, I am stepping down as chief executive and transitioning to a non-operational advisory role for 90 days, if the board approves. After that, the board owes me nothing. No one moved for a full second. Then Leonard nodded once, almost imperceptibly. Motion accepted. Across headquarters, alerts appeared on employee screens. Damien Cross steps down. Governance transition begins. Market reaction was immediate. Shares rose 6% within the hour. Stability, once resisted, had become profitable. Later that evening, Damien asked to meet Natalie one final time before the announcement press conference. They stood alone in the now empty training room where junior staff had met that morning. Was this your plan from the start? He asked. Natalie considered the question. My plan was accountability. What shape it took depended on you. He looked around the room. Whiteboards, notebooks, future managers who had not yet gone home. I spent years trying to control outcomes. Most people do, she said. Wise ones learn to control conduct instead. He nodded slowly. And if I fail again? Natalie picked up her coat. Then fail faster, admit sooner, and repair earlier. She walked toward the door, then paused. Titles leave quietly. Character stays loud. After she left, Damien remained in the empty room while city lights reflected in the glass. Tomorrow he would face cameras without the title he once worshipped. Yet for the first time in many years, he was no longer pretending to be powerful. The next morning, cameras lined the sidewalk outside Cross Dynamics headquarters, waiting for scandal, collapse, or one last dramatic denial. Instead, they watched something rarer. They watched humility arrive on time. Damien Cross stepped to the podium without a tailored performance, without practiced swagger, and without the title that had once introduced him before he spoke. Reporters lifted microphones. Flashbulbs fired. He adjusted the papers in front of him, then set them aside unread. For years, he began, I believed success could cover flaws in character. I was wrong. The crowd quieted instantly. I embarrassed someone publicly because I assumed status gave me permission. It does not. I led people as if results mattered more than respect. They do not. Across the city, office televisions paused conversations. In restaurants, commuters glanced up from breakfast tables. Employees inside the building watched from conference rooms and break areas. Some were skeptical. Others simply listened. Damien continued, I am stepping aside because leadership is not ownership. It is stewardship. And stewardship can be lost. No excuses. No blame. No legal language. Just truth. Stripped of decoration. Markets responded with cautious optimism. But numbers were no longer the headline. Character was. 2 weeks later, the changes inside the company had become visible. Promotion pathways opened. Exit interview complaints were addressed publicly. Frontline workers joined planning committees. Managers attended training sessions that once would have been mocked as unnecessary. The new interim chief executive was selected from operations, a woman who had spent 15 years rising through the company quietly. Many employees said it was the first time they believed advancement was real. Natalie Brooks visited only once during that period. No cameras were invited. She toured the training center, reviewed scholarship enrollment, and met staff members whose names would never appear in business magazines. A janitor thanked her for forcing change. She gently corrected him. No, change was already possible. Someone only had to stop blocking it. Later, as she waited in the lobby for her car, Damien approached wearing a simple navy coat, carrying his own briefcase. No assistance followed. I wanted to thank you, he said. Natalie looked at him calmly. Do not thank me yet. Continue. He nodded. I also wanted to apologize again, properly this time, without needing anything in return. She studied him for a moment, then gave the smallest approving smile. That sounds more valuable already. Outside, rain had begun to fall lightly over the city. Damien glanced toward the revolving doors. What happens now? Natalie answered without hesitation. Now you learn the difference between being admired and being